Right guys, another day and we're back for some more Championship transfer rumours. We've got a lot to go through in today's video. As always, if you do go and enjoy, make sure to drop a like, and any rumours that we do miss off today, make sure to get them in the comments down below and we'll talk about them next time. But without any further ado, let's jump in. So we have had confirmation of Kwame Poku joining Queen's Park Rangers upon his contract with Peterborough United expiring. QPR set to pay Posh a fee of around about 900k in compensation, but I think this undoubtedly goes down as one of the signings of the summer so far. 23 years old, he's been one of the outstanding players in League One for quite some time now. Given the level of interest in him this summer as well, I think this one's a massive deal for QPR. We discussed it quite a bit on last time's video, but the potential of him linking up with the likes of Chen Dembele behind a number 9 next season, I do think is massively exciting. But jumping into some of the transfer rumours, Demarai Gray is set to join Birmingham. By the time you guys are watching this video, this deal may have already gone through. Blues set to sign him on a free transfer, with Al Ettifaq having a 20% sell-on clause as part of the deal. The fact that they're getting him on a free, I don't think that deal is to be sniffed at, to be honest with you, especially considering earlier in the window, Al Ettifaq were reportedly looking for anywhere from sort of 6 to 8 million for him. So the fact that they've got him on a free transfer, I think is only good news for Birmingham, really. He'll be set to take quite a sizable pay cut, I'd imagine, given he's on about 75 grand a week currently in Saudi Arabia. But he's someone who already knows the club and Championship standards. I think should be a good pickup, to be honest with you. And speaking of Birmingham, it also looks like they're set to win the race for Wolves midfielder Tommy Doyle. There has been quite a bit of interest in the midfielder this summer. Obviously, someone who we have seen in the Championship previously with Sheffield United. The structure of that deal looks to be an initial loan move where Birmingham will then have an obligation to buy him if they're promoted to the Premier League for a fee of £10 million. Birmingham are also in talks to sign Bright Asai Samuel, who's available on a free this summer upon his contract with Fenerbahce expiring. Asai Samuel has been a player who's been linked with a move back to England for quite some time. He's obviously spent the last few years now playing in Turkey for Fenerbahce, but a name that will be familiar to plenty of Championship fans from his time previously with QPR and Blackpool. He's an interesting player. Since moving to Turkey, he's predominantly played as an attacking fullback on that right-hand side, but go back to his days at QPR previously, and he was sort of out-and-out winger during that spell. He's only 27 years old, so is at a good age, and I'd be interested to see where Birmingham plan on utilising him for next season, whether it is as an attacking fullback or it is as an out-and-out winger. For Championship standards, though, I think it'd be another good pickup. Now, on last time's video, we discussed Lewis O'Brien and his links to Hull City. Now, there have been plenty of Championship clubs interested this summer. You've got the likes of Birmingham, Southampton, Hull, Swansea, Wrexham, who have all been linked at different points of the window. According to the latest reports, though, Nottingham Forest value the midfielder at around £8 million, which is pretty hefty. Now, last week there were some unverified reports claiming that Hull were prepared to pay around £5 million for him. I do think an £8 million asking price is pretty steep considering he's only got 1 year left in his contract. Don't get me wrong, there is plenty of Championship interest right now, and Nottingham Forest will obviously be keen to secure as much money as possible for him, but the fact that they've been so willing to send him out on loan in previous years, he's now in the final year of his contract and they're looking for around £8 million. I'd be surprised if someone coughs up that much. Speaking of Championship midfielders, it looks like Vini Souza is on his way out of Sheffield United. He's set to have a medical with Wolfsburg, according to the latest reports, with Sheffield United set to land a fee in the region of around about £13 million for the departing midfielder. Now, Souza was one of the best midfielders in that Blade squad last season, and in the Championship in general. Sheffield United didn't look the same side without him. But I think that sales this summer were always going to be inevitable after losing that playoff final. We saw the exact same thing happening with Leeds and a lot of their top performing stars last summer after they lost the Championship playoff final. It's going to be a season of rejuvenation there at Bramall Lane. Obviously, Ruben Sellers is going to want to have his own stamp and get his own players into that team as well. Could they push for a little bit more than 13 million? Probably. But going off the latest reports, that seems to be a deal in the works right now. Now, with Sheffield United looking to rejuvenate their midfield for next season, there have been a few murmurings that Preston's Ali McCann is someone that they could look to fill that void that Souza would leave. Now, McCann is under contract with North End until 2027, an immensely popular popular player among the North End fan base as well, but at the right price, I think North End would consider selling. On the ball and in possession, a player like McCann doesn't offer a great deal, but out of possession, I think he's one of the best in the league. He's got an engine where he can run for absolute days, brilliant at anticipating, intercepting and tackling. Probably the biggest flaw with McCann, though, has just been his injury record over these last few years. He does tend to miss quite a bit of football per season. Since signing him, the most games he started in the Championship season was last season, where he started 28 out of the 46 games. So that's something to take into consideration, but he's at a really good age at 25. You could see why a club like Sheffield United might be interested. Another player that Sheffield United are keen on is Tottenham defender Ashley Phillips, who spent last season out on loan with Stoke in the Championship. Did really well during that loan spell. He's only 20 years old. He's got bags of potential, and according to the latest report, Sheffield United would be prepared to pay around about £6 million for the youngster. Now, for the time being, that interest has been rebuffed by Spurs, as no doubt Thomas Frank will want to get a look at the player before making any definitive decisions on his future and things like that. But coming off the back of that loan spell that he just had with Stoke, yeah, you could definitely see why Sheffield United would be interested in adding a player like that to their back line. With the amount of Premier League interest in Middlesbrough midfielder Hayden Hackney, it's looking increasingly unlikely that he'll still be playing his football at the Riverside next season. As of recording, it seems like the two most predominantly interested clubs are Tottenham and Manchester United. But Middlesbrough would be set to land a pretty significant sum if he's going to leave this summer. It could take anywhere from sort of 20 to 25 million, maybe with add-ons on top of that as well. Coventry is set to win the race for Aston Villa defender Kane Kessler-Hayden, with a deal being agreed with Aston Villa for around about 3.5 million. Honestly, I think this one is a really good deal for Coventry. Obviously, I saw Kessler-Hayden firsthand a lot of last season while he was out on loan with my side North End. Won our player of the season. Don't get me wrong, there are still areas of his game that he can work on. You know, for as good as he was at points of last season, only got 5 goal contributions, 2 goals and 3 assists playing as a wing back. I think he can up those numbers in future years, but in terms of his base level of talent and what he could go on to become, only being 22 years old, I think that's a very reasonable price for him, to be honest with you. He predominantly plays on that right hand side, but can also do a job on the opposite flank as well. I'm interested to see what this means for the future of Milan van Ewijk as well, and whether this is perhaps a signal that he's maybe off this summer, because Coventry would be really stacked in that right back, right wing back department, having both Kessler-Hayden and Van Ewijk, but we'll wait and see what happens on that front. Charlton are closing in on a deal for Stockport forward Isaac Alafe, with that deal being worth around about 1.5 million. I think this one is quite an interesting deal. Alafe is not the most prolific of forwards, at least wasn't in League One last season, where he got 8 goals and 3 assists in 42 appearances during the regular season. But he is someone with the sort of skills that are transferable, in my opinion, to Championship football. I think he would cause a bit of chaos with Championship defences next season. I still think that Charlton are in need of, further bolstering that forward line. I still think they need to get a few more goals in them, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to deliver them on a sort of regular basis. But as someone who could complement some of the other forwards that they already have in that squad, and someone who I think there's still maybe a little bit more to come from, and a manager like Nathan Jones could definitely untap that. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he gets on there. Obviously, a former Millwall man, he came through the Millwall Academy, but it's really been these last few years with Stockport County where his profile has really risen. Charlton are also pushing for a deal for Luton goalkeeper Thomas Kaminski, who's said to be available for a fee of around about £1 million this summer. Kaminski's an interesting one. Brilliant goalkeeper from his Blackburn days, especially. Obviously, earned the move to Luton in the Premier League on the back of that. Really good spell at Ewood Park. There's no denying that last season was pretty poor, though, by his own standards. Statistically, he was one of the weakest goalkeepers in the Championship for Luton last season, based on goal and shot prevention. He was statistically the weakest goalkeeper in the league. He conceded 6.7 more goals than he was expected to, based on the XG he faced. But if you can get him back to those levels that he was previously at with Blackburn, you've got a top goalkeeper there. If he's still the Kaminski of last season, maybe there are a few more question marks over that one. Speaking of Luton players, Theo Aasgaard is continuing to attract interest from clubs in the Championship. Now, he only moved to Kenilworth Road back in the January transfer window for a fee of around about £3 million. But following their relegation to League One, a swift return to the Championship could be on the cards for the creative playmaker. Among the clubs who have been linked, you've got Stoke City, but it remains to be seen if anyone would be willing to match Luton's asking price for the midfielder. You'd imagine they'd be looking to at least make back the money they initially spent on him in January. QPR have quite a big decision on their hands this summer when it comes to the future of Charlie Kelman. Now, in years gone by, he's never really been able to establish himself as a first-team regular at Loftus Road, but he's coming off the back of an unbelievable loan spell last season in League One with Leyton Orient, where he scored 27 goals across all competitions. On the back of that sort of form, it's no surprise that a few Championship clubs have been sniffing around. Among those who are interested, you've currently got West Brom, who are in the market for a new number 9 right now. Let's wait and see if they go in with an offer over these coming days. Porto are supposedly targeting Southampton defender Taylor Harwood-Bellis, with the Portuguese giants prepared to pay around about £20 million. Now, there has been quite a bit of Premier League interest over these past few weeks in Harwood-Bellis. You've had the likes of West Ham and Burnley who have all been linked, but Porto could blow all of those out of the water if they go in with a big offer. You've got Ipswich Town's Amari Hutchinson, who's attracting plenty of Premier League interest right now. Among those interested, you've got Brentford, West Ham, Fulham, and Everton. Everton in particular have been quite heavily linked in recent days. No surprise that he's got Premier League suitors sniffing around, especially on the back of his goal the other night in the Euro Under-21 final for England against Germany. Although given his pedigree, you're definitely looking at a big fee to get him out of Portman Road right now. Norwich City is still looking to bolster their attacking options ahead of next season. One of the players currently being considered is Liverpool youngster Lewis Kumas, who obviously spent last season out on loan with Stoke, where he scored 6 goals across all competitions. With Norwich, we expect quite a bit of movement in their attacking department over these next few weeks, with some potential outgoing, so it makes sense that they're looking to target a few more players coming into the club. But they aren't alone in their interest of Kumas. You've also got Sheffield United, who have been linked in recent weeks as well. And speaking of outgoings at Norwich, Josh Sargent is a player who continues to be linked with a move away. There's been quite a bit of Premier League interest so far. Earlier in the window, we saw those links to Leeds United resurfacing. We've now got Burnley as the latest Premier League side who have been linked with the United States international. There's been a bit of interest from clubs around Europe as well, with a few sides from Italy being linked. Probably expect to get a bit more movement on that front over these next few weeks in terms of Sargent and where he could end up next season. Watford are closing in on a deal for Udinese forward Vivaldo Semedo. We did speak about this one on last time's video, but seems to be progressing since that point. According to reports from Sky, the 20-year-old forward has agreed a 5-year contract with Watford. And we have also had confirmation that Imran Louza has submitted a transfer request at Watford. Now, we discussed this one on last time's video as well, but have since had some clarification over the midfielder and what he wants to do. Now, there were a few murmurings that came out suggesting that the player had had a bit of a fallout with new Watford boss Paolo Pezzolano. That's not the case. Seems just to be a case of Luzo wanting a fresh challenge ahead of next season and probably wanting to test himself at a bit of a higher level. As of recording, there has been some interest from some clubs in France, reportedly. Eiran Cashin is set to go out on loan for the season, obviously joined Brighton back in the January transfer window from Derby. Now, there has been a bit of interest from some clubs in the Bundesliga, although a move back to the Championship cannot be ruled out either, and I'm sure there'd be plenty of potential suitors who would be interested in a loan deal for the former Derby defender. Blackburn, one of the clubs from the Championship, supposedly interested, but like I say, you'd imagine there'd be plenty of suitors there. Now that Rob Edwards has been confirmed as the new Middlesbrough manager, no surprises whatsoever that the links to Alfie Doherty are picking up once again. Obviously a player who's done really well at Luton, working under Edwards previously. If Edwards is going to go with a similar sort of brand of football at the Riverside next season, you could see why a player like Doherty would be of use to him. A real creative outlet from that sort of left wing back role, isn't he? There's still plenty of speculation regarding Barry Bannan and his long-term future amid Sheffield Wednesday's financial problems. He has been offered a new deal by Wednesday, but their ability to actually pay him out on that contract, it's all up in the air right now. As a result of that, a number of Championship clubs are currently monitoring his situation and would be prepared to go in with an offer, it would seem, if he's not going to renew with Sheffield Wednesday because of their financial problems. You've got the likes of Stoke, West Brom and Wrexham, who have all been linked in recent weeks with the experienced midfielder. Although in the case of West Brom, local journos have reported that the Baggies aren't as interested as was first reported. Definitely one to keep your eye on though over these next few days. But those are some of the latest transfer rumours currently going around the Championship. If you guys have seen any others, make sure to let me know about them in the comments down below and we'll give them a mention in the next video. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.